Okay. Just the background, at the last board meeting, we only discussed the flood situation and the impact of the flood on the activities of the AIT. All other issues, including the ongoing work with exploration of new funding models, etc., we decided to move on to other meetings of the board. However, the work, of course, continues. The short background, once again, that in the beginning of October, to be more precise, October 6th, we started to formalize our activities regarding the fight against the flood. October 6th, we organized, we formed a formal task force to guide the work of AIT in coordination with the neighbors to respond to the threats of the flood. So we had the regular meetings through Dr. San and Professor Wosak in terms of coordinating activities with our neighboring institutions. We had a number of communication on regular basis to community. One of our most difficult tasks was to know the correct information, what was happening on other areas with importance and impact to IT. It was very difficult to receive information from the authorities. Information we received many times were contradicting each other. So that's why we decided to have our own monitoring of the situation. So every day we traveled around the campus and by ourselves monitored the situation. As I mentioned, October 11, we had instructions to all units to be prepared to move on the important things. The second floor, we started to develop detailed safety procedures, communicated to the members of community, start to with the help of volunteers, also try to practice some important procedures, safety procedures, including evacuation plans, etc. We will start also to document things as much as we could for future need in terms of claim from insurance companies, etc. These are some details of how we work with Thammasat and NASDA in terms of the common defense line. We also decided to have a number of buses. At the end, we had 17 buses standby in order to make sure that we can, if we decide evacuation, we can conduct it safely. A number of partners visited us during that period, including the new ambassador of Sri Lanka. In Thailand, I mentioned about the great help we received from Royal Thai Army the last 2 days. And then I explained other things that after flood we visited our students, we worked with them, and we started the first day after the weekend as a public holiday with our activities from temporary offices in Bangkok. And we did everything we could to prevent the floods, but just like others, including our neighboring institutions, we were flooded at the end. We lost a number of documents, as I mentioned, but we will study these cases. We will document the losses after the campus is dry, and if necessary, we might need to also take some actions. For those cases, our colleagues did show ignorance to the instructions. We received a number of recognitions for our efforts to prevent flood disaster at the AIT. As you know, RISE is one of the intergovernmental organizations, and the early warning system is hosted at the AIT campus. So they were with us, they were observing how we were working in terms of our fight against the floods. And this is an important recognition in which they say that they admire our work, coordination, fight against the floods. I'm happy that our colleagues receive this kind of recognition for their hard effort for more than 2 weeks. Many of our colleagues working with these issues, they decided not to go even home. They work 24 hours a day. Many of them, for many days, didn't even have a chance to sleep. And it's nice to see this kind of recognition. We started immediately after we set up our temporary offices in Bangkok to look for relocation sites for our students. We knew from day one that this must be one of the top priorities, the top priority of AIT, get back students as soon as possible to their studies, to the classrooms. We knew that time lost will be very expensive for students. Time lost is loss of opportunities. And we had many reasons for that. To put the interest of students in the front. Many of you are going through two-stage programs abroad. A number of you will graduate soon. A number of you are on the scholarships, time-bound, etc., etc. And this was also recommended by other universities with similar experiences. Number one experience recommended to us was get students back to studies within 1 month. This was the recommendation. Do not delay back to studies for more than maximum 1 month. So he did set that as an important target. And it didn't mean that we didn't start to work with the campus recovery. These are two necessary processes which can and should be run in parallel. So we studied a big number of options in Bangkok and around Bangkok. And finally, we decided for those options which you can see in the red. Majority of universities who could offer us a place to resume the teaching activities offer that help free of charge, with no rental expenses. But of course, we are supposed to cover some expenses, mainly for utilities, but no rental costs. You can read the details later on, because this link will be available to you. And decision was made again in the interest of students, and all 3 deans were actively involved in this part of the work. So this was a common decision from AIT management team. And we also consulted, as you can see from my presentation this slide, both chairman of the board of trustees and chairman of the executive committee before we arrived in that decision. Some of the activities will be run from Bangkok, especially those activities which are not targeting students in classrooms, such as the AIT extension, such as the AIT consulting, project works. And we are in the process of renting places in Bangkok, space in Bangkok. In most cases, we have to sign rental agreements. It's not free of cost because this will be for a longer period. Operation from Bangkok to those units. This relocation is mainly for students who are taking classes. For students doing their thesis, the research part of their studies, for them we have flexible solutions, which will be mainly a decision between the students and their supervisors. Some will be working remotely under the guidance of their supervisors. Some will be working from Bangkok, some from the who are in the relocation sites, and a number of them, I hope, will be also hosted by the partner institutions for a few months per period in Thailand and in other countries. And we have already received such an offer from many universities, and many of faculty are doing this kind of things themselves. They help their students to be hosted by universities in cases I know, in Japan, in Australia, in India, Sweden, etc. I also reported to the board meeting about an article in Bangkok Post. Unfortunately, one very important figure was not correct. They were referring that 1,700 students are not willing to go back to their studies in the education side of Guahin. And we have communicated to Bangkok Post that this number is not correct. But otherwise, the interview was reflected and discussed also during the board meeting. And we have just translated the QA section of that interview to Thai language. I also presented to the board some of the experiences on impact of flood and recovery from other universities. As I mentioned, what they say is, number one, get students back to studies as soon as possible. Number two, do not underestimate the work needed for recovery. It's not just to pump out the water. That is the necessary first step only. There are many other issues. Do not underestimate the work needed. And in a number of cases, it takes not weeks, not days, not weeks, not months, even years or years, depending on the situation, of course, but also depending on the areas of activities of the university. And it's not so easy to compare. Each situation is unique, but these are some of the recommendations. And another very important recommendation is this will happen again. Plan for your next disaster, not your last one. And it's not enough to prepare for the worst scenario. Prepare for worse than worst scenario. That's what they say. And we have also received a number of statements, recommendations, help from let's say, former faculty, from other friends, partners, and a number of them also say that we have to take this very seriously. We have to make sure that our campus is safe for future disasters. You can read all these statements. And that AIT recovering process will be a very complex one. Okay, and there are all kinds of estimations, whether it's days or weeks or months before AIT can be operational. But we don't take any risk. We want students to be back to their studies as soon as possible, without taking any risk on that. I also mentioned that we continue our work with the new business model, funding model for AIT. That work will not be stopped. That will continue. And we are people working intensively with developing a new funding model, business model for AIT to be considered by the governing structure of governing board of AIT. It's very important and necessary work. And the necessity of this work is even more today after the flood. There is huge financial impact because of the flood. and now we are evaluating all different scenarios, simulations, and of course, when this work is completed, it will be communicated to AIT community and with a request to the governing board of AIT for a final decision. What we also asked the board was help for immediate needs in order to restore and fix the campus without being bankrupt. We mentioned about our medium-term needs, which includes how to protect the AIT campus for future disasters. It's a huge task, it's a costly matter. The AIT was first in that part of Rangsit, Patutani. Please be reminded, 1970, when we came to that area, around us there was nothing, rice fields. The flood was not an issue. Lots of open space for water. Today, that region, that part is overbuilt. And that's why we face problems. AIT is like a ball, lower than any other neighboring institution, lower than the highway. So the impact of flood will always be more severe for AIT. So that's why it's not so easy to compare the situation of the AIT with neighboring institutions. And the long-term needs, we need to put in place a new funding model. We have been telling this in the last 3 years. We have had external evaluations, external consultants saying the same thing. The changing pattern of donor countries, the significant reduction of the available scholarship for students, the current funding model will not function. It has been communicated to the board, to the AIT community for the last 2 to 3 years. It's time to come to a decision. What will be the new funding model, new business model of the AIT? The work continues. We need the support in terms of advice, etc. We also requested financial contribution immediately to deal with the impact of flood. Okay, this was the presentation I made to the board, and now I would like to give the floor to Professor Warsack, who will explain how the committee for campus recovery is functioning. Professor Warsack.